There is a specific heartbeat to a 1969 Dodge Charger with a 440 Magnum 5.8 engine. It does not hum. It does not whine. It breathes. It lopes. It has a syncopated rhythm, a potato 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 cadence that travels through the soles of your boots and settles directly into the base of your spine. If you listen closely enough, you can hear the combustion chambers firing in sequence. 1 8 4 3 6 5 7 2. It is the music of violent, controlled explosions. I stood over the open engine bay, a flathead screwdriver in my right hand, a rag stained with 30 years of grease in my left. The air in the garage was thick, a heavy perfume of unburnt hydrocarbons, old rubber, and the metallic tang of warm cast iron. To most people, it smells like a headache. To me, it smells like honest work. I leaned in, my ear inches from the carburetor intake. "Come on, you old girl," I whispered. "Don't lie to me." The idle was rough. She was stumbling on the number 4 cylinder, just a hair, a fraction of a hesitation every third rotation. I reached for the air-fuel mixture screw on the primary metering block of the Holly 4-barrel carb. I didn't look at it. I didn't need to see it. My fingers knew the knurled texture of the brass screw better than they knew the face of my own wife, God rest her soul. I turned it clockwise. A quarter turn. The idle smoothed out. The stumble vanished. The engine note dropped an octave, settling into a deep, menacing purr that shook the dust off the rafters. Perfect. I wiped my hands on the rag. My knuckles were swollen, arthritic knots of bone and scar tissue. They were ugly hands. They were the hands of a man who fixed toilets and mowed lawns. That's what my family saw. That's what the neighbours saw. Old Bill, the crazy guy in the cul-de-sac who hoarded rusted metal and refused to buy a Toyota. They didn't know these hands had once gripped the steering wheel of a GT40 at Le Mans in the rain at 200 miles an hour. They didn't know these hands had sketched the suspension geometry for the Mustang Boss 302 on a cocktail napkin in a Detroit bar in 1968. They didn't know that inside this old grease monkey lived Wild Bill Halloway, the man who taught the big three how to make a car turn a corner without flipping over. The garage door rattled. It wasn't the wind. It was the frantic, desperate pounding of a fist. "Grandpa, open up. I know you're in there. I can hear that dinosaur running." I sighed. I killed the ignition on the Charger. The silence rushed back into the garage, ringing in my ears. I walked over to the chain hoist and pulled the chain. The heavy steel door rolled up with a screech of dry bearings. I really needed to grease that track. Light flooded in. Blinding, white, sterile daylight. Standing in the driveway, silhouetted against the sun, was my grandson, Ryan. He was 29 years old. He was wearing an Italian suit that cost more than my entire tool chest. His shoes were polished to a mirror shine, completely inappropriate for a driveway covered in gravel. He was the CEO of Aura Motors, the darling of Wall Street, the Tesla killer, the boy genius who was going to save the planet with electric mobility. He looked like he was about to vomit. "Grandpa, move this junk," Ryan shouted, pointing at the Charger. He was sweating. Beads of perspiration were rolling down his forehead, staining the collar of his starch white shirt. "I need the space. Now. Move it." I leaned against the doorframe, crossing my arms. I didn't move. "Hello to you too, Ryan," I said slowly. "Nice to see you. How's the electric shaver business?" "It's not funny, Bill," Ryan screamed. He looked over his shoulder at the empty street, his eyes darting back and forth like a rabbit sensing a hawk. I have a situation, a level 5 crisis. The press is swarming the headquarters. The drone paparazzi are over my house. I need to hide it. Hide what? Ryan gestured to the street. A massive, enclosed transport truck was idling at the curb. It was black, unmarked. It looked like something the CIA would use to move aliens. The Horizon, Ryan whispered. The prototype one. I raised an eyebrow. The spaceship? I thought that wasn't launching until next month. The stock price is riding on it, isn't it? The stock price is in free fall. Ryan ran a hand through his gelled hair, ruining the perfect coiffure. We halted trading an hour ago. We have a massive recall. 500,000 units. It's a disaster, Grandpa. A total unmitigated catastrophe. Bring it in, I said. But don't call the Charger junk again. She has feelings. Ryan waved at the truck. The ramp lowered. I watched as they unloaded the future. The Aura Horizon. It didn't look like a car. It looked like a bar of soap that had been wind tunnel tested by Apple. It was seamless. No door handles, no grille. Just a sweeping curve of pearlescent white paint and black glass. It rolled down the ramp silently. No engine noise. Just the crunch of tyres on gravel and the high-pitched whine of the electric motors. Ryan drove it into my garage, parking it next to the Charger. The contrast was offensive. It was like parking a stealth bomber next to a sledgehammer. Ryan jumped out. The door didn't open with a latch. It just sort of presented itself. He ran over to me, holding a tablet. Okay, Ryan panted. It's safe here. Nobody knows you exist. Nobody knows the CEO of Aura Motors has a grandfather who lives in a shack in Michigan. Thanks, I grunted. I love the respect. I walked around the Horizon. I didn't touch it. I just looked at it. So, I said, what's wrong with the toaster? It's not a toaster, Ryan snapped. It's the most advanced vehicle ever created. Quad motor drivetrain, vector controlled torque, level 4 autonomy. The drag coefficient is 0.19. And it kills people, Ryan whispered. The fight drained out of him. He slumped against his workbench, putting his head in his hands. It just dies. At highway speeds, 70, 80 miles an hour. Total system lockup. The screens go red, the power cuts, and the steering freezes. We call it the phantom stall. We've had 3 accidents in testing. 1 driver is in the ICU. Software? I asked, looking at the tyres. It has to be. Ryan pulled up a flurry of code on his tablet. Look, we've analysed the logs. The central logic core throws a critical error code, E99, and initiates a hard shutdown to protect the battery. But we can't find the bug. We've had a team of 50 coders looking at this for a week. The code is clean, Grandpa. It's perfect. But the car keeps crashing. I ignored the tablet. I ignored the code. Code is just a language humans use to lie to machines. I walked up to the car. I put my hand on the fender. It was cold. Composite material. Carbon fibre reinforced plastic. Light. Stiff. Pop the hood, I said. It's a frunk, Ryan corrected. Front trunk. There's nothing to see. The motors are sealed units on the axles. Open it. Ryan sighed, tapped a button on his phone, and the front hood glided open silently. I looked inside. Plastic covers. High voltage orange cables. No smell of oil. No heat. Just a sterile smell of ozone and electronics. I leaned down and looked at the suspension towers. Double wishbone. Forged aluminum control arms. Very expensive. Very rigid. I walked to the front wheel. Low-profile tyres, 21-inch rims, basically rubber bands wrapped around aluminum barrels. I kicked the tyre. Thud. It didn't bounce. It felt dead. Hard. I put my weight on the front fender and tried to bounce the suspension. It didn't move. It was like pushing on a granite slab. She's stiff, I muttered. It's performance-tuned, Ryan said defensively. It's supposed to corner on rails. We benchmarked it against the Porsche Taycan. She's nervous, I corrected. A car needs to breathe, Ryan. If you make it too stiff, it panics. It can't absorb the road. It fights the road. This isn't 1970, Grandpa, Ryan scoffed. We have active damping. The computer adjusts the shock absorbers 1,000 times per second. It doesn't need to breathe. It computes. I wiped my oily hands on my pants. Give me the keys, I said. Ryan blinked. What? There are no keys. It's a phone key. Give me the phone. Or the card. Whatever makes it go. No, Ryan said, taking a step back. Are you insane? I just told you. It locks up. It's dangerous. You're 71 years old. Your reflexes are... Well, you're old. I'm not letting you drive a prototype that tries to commit suicide. I looked at him. I looked at the boy who used to sit on my lap while I watched Formula One races on Sunday mornings. He was scared. He was drowning in data, suffocating in algorithms, and he had forgotten the one thing that matters. Ryan, I said softly, a car is just a machine. It only kills you if you don't respect it, or if you fear it. You fear it. I don't. I held out my hand, palm open. Give me the key. Ryan hesitated. He looked at the car. He looked at the charger. He looked at my calloused hand. If you crash it, Ryan whispered, Aura Motors is bankrupt, and I go to jail for negligence. If I don't fix it, I said, you're already bankrupt. He handed me a sleek black credit card. Put it on the center console, he said. Press the brake to start. Get in, I said. I'll wait here. Get in. The interior of the Horizon was like sitting inside an iPad. No buttons, no knobs, just a massive glass screen stretching from door to door. The steering wheel wasn't a wheel. It was a yoke, a rectangular thing that looked like it belonged on a video game controller. I sat in the driver's seat. It grabbed me. The bolsters inflated automatically to squeeze my ribs. Comfort mode, I muttered. It's in Sport Plus, Ryan said, buckling his seatbelt. His hands were shaking. Grandpa, please. Be careful. The crash occurred at speeds over 70. I pressed the brake. The car woke up. No sound. Just a futuristic hum pumped in through the speakers to let you know you weren't dead. The screens lit up with a blinding array of maps, widgets, and energy graphs. I put it in drive. We rolled out to the garage. I turned onto the county road. It was a long stretch of asphalt, pockmarked with frost heaves and tar patches. The kind of road that tells you the truth about a chassis. I pressed the accelerator. Instant violence. That's the only way to describe electric torque. There is no build-up, no torque curve. Just 100% of the power. Immediately. My head snapped back against the headrest. We hit 60 miles per hour in 3 seconds. Easy, Ryan yelped, grabbing the oh shit handle. Impressive, I admitted. Fast, but soulless. It accelerates like a light switch. I held it at 60. The ride was harsh. Every crack in the road sent a jolt through the carbon fibre tub. Thump, thump, thump. Feel that? I asked. Feel what? Ryan was staring at the telemetry on the screen. Battery temp is optimal. Inverter is green. The jitter, I said, through the yoke. It's buzzing. That's just road texture feedback, Ryan dismissed. It's haptic. No, I said. That's resonance. That's the unsprung weight fighting the damping. I pushed it harder, 70 miles per hour. The silence was eerie. In the Charger, at 70, you hear the wind, the tyres, the exhaust. You were in a conversation with the machine. In the Horizon, it was like being in a sensory deprivation tank. The only sound was the tyre roar and the wind rushing over the mirrors. 75 miles per hour. Grandpa, slow down, Ryan warned. We're entering the danger zone. The accidents happened between 75 and 85. Good, I said. Let's find the ghost. I pushed it to 80, and then I felt it. It started as a tickle in my fingertips, a high-frequency vibration, not a wobble, a hum. It wasn't coming from the tyres. It was coming from the structure itself. Zzz. It travelled up the steering column. It vibrated my teeth. There, I said. Do you feel that? Ryan looked up from the screen. What? I don't feel anything. Put your hand on the dash, I ordered. He reached out and touched the dashboard. His eyes went wide. It's vibrating, like a phone on silent. 400 hertz, I estimated. Maybe 420. It's a harmonic. Suddenly, the screen flashed red. A massive warning triangle appeared. Critical system failure. Impact detected. Emergency shutdown. Grandpa, Ryan screamed. It's happening. The sensors think we crashed. The power cut. The accelerator pedal went dead under my foot. And then the steering wheel locked. The electronic power steering rack shut down. The yoke froze solid in my hands. We were doing 85 miles per hour on a curving country road. Brake! Ryan shrieked. Hit the brakes! No, I said calmly. We're drifting. Ryan grabbed the dashboard. We're going to hit the trees. Brake! My mind raced. The computer thought we had crashed. Why? Because the vibration was so intense. The accelerometers interpreted it as an impact event. It triggered the pyro fuses to cut the high voltage. If I braked now, the weight transfer would shift forward. The front suspension would compress. The frequency would change, but the car would be uncontrollable without steering. We would slide into the ditch. I looked at the speedometer. We were coasting. 80, 79. The vibration was getting worse as we slowed down. It was a resonant peak. We were stuck in the frequency that was killing the car. It's not the software, I shouted over Ryan screaming. It's the harmonics. The motor is singing to the chassis. I needed to break the resonance. I couldn't steer. I couldn't accelerate. But I knew physics. Resonance depends on tension. If you change the load, you change the frequency. Hang on, I grunted. I slammed the car into neutral, or whatever the electric equivalent was, by holding the stalk up. Then I did something counterintuitive. I slammed the brake pedal with my left foot, but only for a split second, a violent jab, while simultaneously jerking the locked steering wheel with every ounce of strength I had in my shoulders. The sudden weight transfer shocked the chassis. Bang! The vibration stopped instantly. The resonance broke. The computer, sensing the vibration was gone, rebooted. System restored. The steering unlocked. I caught the slide. The tyres screeched, smoking as I wrestled the 2-ton electric brick back into the centre of the lane. We were doing 60, then 50, then 40. I coasted to a stop on the shoulder of the road. The silence returned. The fan whirred softly. Ryan was hyperventilating. He was clutching his chest, his face the colour of the pearlescent paint. "We're alive," he wheezed. "Oh my God, we're alive." I sat there, gripping the yoke. My hands were trembling slightly now, not from fear, from the vibration. I turned to Ryan. "I know this ghost," I said, a small, grim smile touching my lips. "What? What was that?" Ryan stammered. The code failed." "It wasn't the code, kid," I said. "The code was doing exactly what you told it to do. It felt a crash, so it tried to save you." I tapped the dashboard. "It's the motor," I said. "Your electric motor spins at what? 13,000 RPM?" "Up to 15,000, Ryan whispered. "At 80 miles an hour, I calculated in my head. That motor is hitting a specific frequency, and that frequency matches the natural resonant frequency of your subframe. The car isn't broken, Ryan. It's a tuning fork. You built a giant $80,000 tuning fork." Ryan stared at me. "But how do we fix it? We can't redesign the chassis. The cars are already built. We can't change the mass of the frame." I put the car back in drive. "We don't need to change the frame," I said, turning the car around. "We just need to change the tune." I drove us back to the garage. Slowly this time. "I need a lift," I said. "And I need a washer." "A washer?" "Yeah, about 50 cents worth of rubber." Ryan looked at me like I was a wizard or a madman. "Who are you?" he asked, watching me drive. "You drove through the lockup. You knew exactly what to do." I looked at the road. "I'm just a guy who fixes junk," I said. "Now call your engineers. Tell them the grease monkey figured it out." We pulled back into the driveway in silence. The horizon rolled into the garage, the electric motors whining with that high-pitched, sterile frequency that made my fillings ache. It sounded like a dentist's drill wrapped in velvet. Ryan sat in the driver's seat for a long moment after we stopped. His hands were still gripping the yoke, his knuckles white, his chest heaving against the seatbelt. He stared at the blank screens, the digital dashboard that had betrayed him, the millions of lines of code that had failed to account for the simple, brutal reality of physics. "Breathing is good," I said, unbuckling my belt. "Keep doing it." Ryan looked at me. His eyes were wide, shell-shocked. "We almost died. Almost only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades," I grunted. "Get out. Put it on the lift." "The lift?" Ryan stumbled out of the car, his legs wobbly. "Grandpa, we need to call the engineering team. We need to upload the telemetry logs. We need to shut up and listen to the metal," I interrupted. I walked over to the hydraulic controls of my two-post lift. "Center it. Arms under the lift points. Do you know where the lift points are? Or do I need to show you?" Ryan hesitated, then pointed vaguely near the wheels. I think near the battery rails." I sighed. "Stand back." I kicked the lift arms into position. Clang, clang. The sound of heavy steel. Honest steel. I checked the pads. I hit the button. Whoa. The $80,000 spaceship rose into the air, revealing its flat, aerodynamic underbelly. It looked like the bottom of a skateboard, a massive slab of battery pack shielded by aluminum plates. Ryan was already pacing, tapping furiously on his phone. "I'm calling the CTO. We need to run a simulation. If it's a harmonic resonance issue, we need to model the subframe dynamics in Caddy. We might have a solution in 3 weeks." 3 weeks. I walked under the car. I clicked on my shop light. The beam cut through the shadows, illuminating the front drive unit. In 3 weeks, your stock will be delisted and your cars will be scrap metal. It's complex physics, Grandpa, Ryan shouted, his voice echoing off the concrete floor. You can't just fix a resonant frequency failure with a wrench. We need to redesign the motor mounts. We need to change the mass of the chassis. It's a re-engineering nightmare. I ignored him. I looked at the front motor. It was a marvel of engineering. I'll give them that. Compact. Dense. A permanent magnet synchronous motor bolted directly to the aluminum subframe. And there was the problem. Directly. Look at this, I said, pointing the light at the mounting bracket. Ryan walked under the lift, looking up nervously as if the car might decide to crush him out of spite. What? The mount? It's aluminum, I said. Bolted to aluminum, with a polyurethane bushing. Yeah, Ryan nodded. Hydrometer poly. It's stiff, for handling. It minimises the drivetrain slop. It gives the driver instant feedback. It gives the driver a heart attack, I corrected. It's too hard, Ryan. You've hard-mounted a device spinning at 12,000 RPM to a chassis that acts like a bell. I walked over to my workbench. I pushed aside a Holly carburetor and a pile of rusty spark plugs. I started digging through a bin of junk. The junk Ryan had told me to throw away for years. What are you doing? Ryan asked. We need a computer. We need diagnostics. I'm looking for a solution, I muttered. I found it. An old rubber exhaust hanger from a 1985 Ford pickup truck, and a strip of high-density rubber I cut off a tractor tire 3 years ago. I grabbed my utility knife. I grabbed a caliper. Grandpa, put the knife down, Ryan pleaded. This is a prototype. It's worth $2 million. You can't just start hacking at it with a box cutter. I walked back to the car. I grabbed a 14mm socket wrench. Watch me. I reached up and located the 3 bolts holding the front motor to the subframe. Click, click, click. I loosened them. The motor drooped slightly, resting on the jack stand I'd placed underneath. The motor spins at roughly 200 revolutions per second at 80 miles per hour, I said, sliding the bolt out. That's 200 hertz. The second harmonic is 400 hertz. I placed the rubber tractor strip on the workbench. I measured the bolt diameter. I placed the tip of the utility knife against the rubber. Scritch. I cut a circle. Then I cut a hole in the centre. It was ugly. It was rough. It looked like a black donut made by a blind baker. This chassis, I continued, holding up the crude washer, is stiff. Carbon and aluminum. Its natural frequency is high, probably right around 400 hertz. When the motor hits that speed, the chassis sings along. It amplifies the vibration by a factor of 10. That's what shook the sensors. That's what crashed the computer. So we need to change the chassis, Ryan said, defeated. No, I said. We need to detune the choir. I walked back under the car. I slipped the rubber washer between the motor mount and the subframe. It added about 4mm of spacing. It introduced a layer of soft, imperfect organic material into the sterile marriage of metal and metal. I threaded the bolt back in. That rubber, I said, tightening the bolt, has a different durometer. It absorbs the high-frequency spike. It acts as a low-pass filter. The motor can scream all it wants, but the chassis won't hear it. I torqued the bolt down. Click. That's it, Ryan asked, staring at the piece of tractor tyre protruding slightly from the sleek aluminum mount. A piece of garbage. That's your fix? It's not garbage, I said, wiping my hands on my rag. It's an isolator, and it cost 50 cents. I lowered the lift. Whoosh, clank. The horizon settled back onto its tyres. We can't test it, Ryan said, shaking his head. If we go back out there and it locks up again, the logs will show we tampered with it. The legal liability. Suddenly, the sound of gravel crunching outside broke the tension. Tyres. Heavy tyres. Multiple vehicles. Ryan froze. The press, he whispered. They found us. Or the feds. The NHTSA investigators. He ran to the garage window and peeked through the grime-coated glass. Oh no, Ryan breathed. It's worse. Who is it? I asked, putting my wrench away. It's a black Escalade and a security detail. It's the chairman. I paused. The chairman? Mr. Ford, Ryan said, his face draining of colour. Henry Ford III, the lead investor, the man who owns the board. He never leaves Detroit. If he's here to fire me personally. The garage door wasn't locked. It rolled up before I could stop it. Two men in suits walked in first, scanning the room. They looked at the oil stains, the rusted charger, the piles of parts. They looked disgusted. Then an old man walked in. He was in his 80s, leaning on a cane with a silver handle shaped like a piston. He wore a three-piece suit that looked like it had been ironed by God himself. He had a face like a dried apple, wrinkled, tough, and sharp. Mr. Ford, the Titan, the man whose grandfather invented the assembly line. Ryan stepped forward, trembling. Mr. Chairman, I can explain. We are conducting off-site testing. We have a lead on the failure mode. The old man ignored Ryan completely. He walked past the billion-dollar electric car. He walked right up to the 1969 Charger. He ran a hand along the fender. He looked at the 440 Magnum engine. He took a deep breath, inhaling the smell of gasoline and grease. Holly double pumper, the old man rasped. Edelbrock intake. And if I'm not mistaken, is that a custom sway bar linkage? He turned slowly. He looked at me. I was standing in the shadows, wiping grease off my forearms. The old man squinted. He adjusted his glasses. He froze. William, the chairman whispered. I stepped into the light. Hello, Henry. Still leaning on that cane, I see. Ryan looked between us, his mouth hanging open. Mr. Chairman? You know my grandfather? Henry Ford III let out a laugh. It was a loud, barking sound that startled his security detail. Know him? Henry pointed his cane at me. Boy, do you have any idea who this man is? Ryan shook his head. He's a retired mechanic. He used to fix buses. Fix buses? Henry laughed again, wiping a tear from his eye. This is Wild Bill Halloway. The man is a ghost story in Detroit. He was the lead chassis engineer for the GT program in '66. He taught me how to drift a GT40 in the rain at Sebring when I was 19 years old. He designed the rear suspension of the very car I learned to drive in. Henry walked over to me. He didn't shake my hand. He hugged me. It was awkward, stiff, but genuine. I thought you died, Bill, Henry said. You vanished in '79. Just walked out of the plant and never came back. I got tired of the plastic, Henry, I said. And the meetings. Mostly the meetings. Henry looked at the horizon on the lift. Then he looked at Ryan. So, Henry said, his voice sharpening. The boy says you're fixing his mess. Is it true? The stock is tanking, Bill. I'm losing a fortune every hour. It's fixed, I said. Ryan stepped forward. Mr. Chairman, we implemented a modification, but it hasn't been validated by the software team. Software, I scoffed. I tossed the keys to Henry. You want to validate it, Henry? I asked. You always had a heavy foot. Ryan panicked. No, Mr. Chairman, it's dangerous. The steering locks up. Henry caught the key card. He looked at it with disdain, then at the car. If Wild Bill says it's fixed, Henry said, opening the door, then it's fixed. Get in, kid. Let's see if your spaceship can handle a real driver. We went back to the county road. Henry Ford III drove. I sat in the passenger seat. Ryan was in the back, curled up in a ball, praying to the gods of Silicon Valley. Henry didn't drive like an 80-year-old. He drove like a man who had gasoline in his veins. He punched the accelerator. The Horizon rocketed forward, 60 miles per hour, 70 miles per hour. Quiet, Henry muttered. Too damn quiet. I miss the noise, Bill. We all do, I said. 80 miles per hour. Ryan whimpered in the back. Here it comes. This is the death zone. 80, 85, 90. The car was smooth as silk. The vibration was gone. The resonance was dead. The rubber washer I had cut from a tractor tire was absorbing the microscopic scream of the motor, isolating it from the chassis. The computer sensors, no longer blinded by the shaking, kept the power flowing. 95 miles per hour. Henry took his hands off the yoke for a split second. The car tracked straight and true. Solid, Henry nodded. Feels planted. Stiff, but planted. He slowed down and turned the car around. He looked at me. What was it? Henry asked. Software bug? Bad sensor? Harmonics, I said. Motor mount was too stiff. Created a resonant loop with the subframe at 400 Hz. I put a rubber isolator in. Henry started laughing again. He slapped the steering wheel. A washer! Henry shouted. A 50-cent washer. The boy spends $1 billion on code, and Wild Bill fixes it with a piece of rubber. He looked in the rear view mirror at Ryan. You hear that, son? You almost tanked my company because you forgot that cars are made of metal, not math. Ryan was sitting up now. He looked at the dashboard. No red lights, no warnings. Just a smooth, silent hum of success. It worked, Ryan whispered. It actually worked. Back in the driveway, the sun was setting. The orange light reflected off the chrome bumper of my Charger and the pearlescent paint of the Horizon. Henry climbed out of the car. He shook my hand again. Come back, Bill, Henry said. I'm firing the entire chassis team tomorrow. Come run the department. Name your price. I'll give you a corner office. I'll let you smoke cigars inside. Just come back. We need people who can feel the road. I looked at the Horizon. It was a marvel, yes, but it was an appliance. It didn't need me. It needed a software update and a piece of rubber. Then I looked at my Charger. It needed me. It needed its valves lashed. It needed its oil changed. It needed to be understood. I can't, Henry, I said. I'm retired, and I have a carburetor that's giving me hell on the number 4 cylinder. Henry smiled. He understood. Keep the shiny side up, Bill. He got into his Escalade and the convoy rolled away. Ryan stood in the driveway. He looked at the Horizon, then at me. He looked different. The arrogance was cracked. He looked younger, less polished. He had grease on his Italian suit from when he leaned against the lift. I'm sorry, Ryan said quietly, for the junk comment, and for everything. It's okay, kid, I said. You saved the company, Ryan said. You saved me. I don't know how to thank you. You can thank me by learning how to change a tyre, I said. Ryan laughed, a weak, exhausted laugh. Deal. He opened the door of the Horizon. One thing, Ryan asked, pausing. How did you know? How did you know it wasn't the code? Everyone said it was the code. I wiped my hands on my rag one last time. You forgot the first rule, kid, I said, pointing a greasy finger at his chest. You can't code physics. You can't program gravity, and you can't algorithm your way out of vibration. You have to feel it. The car talks to you, Ryan. You just have to shut up long enough to listen. Ryan nodded. He got into his silent car. He backed out of the driveway. He drove away, the future retreating down the street. I stood there alone. The street was quiet. The neighbours were inside watching TV. I walked back into the garage. I walked over to the charger. I reached in and twisted the key. Chug, chug, vroom. The 440 Magnum roared to life. The garage shook. The smell of unburnt gas filled the air. It was loud. It was dirty. It was imperfect. It was alive. I grabbed my screwdriver. I leaned over the fender. Now, I whispered to the engine. Let's talk about that idle. I reached for the chain hoist and pulled. The garage door rattled down, shutting out the world. Shutting out the electric cars and the stock prices and the silence. Finally. Just me and the metal.